All right. Good enough. I think we're ready to go then. Welcome to the Board of Commissioners on December 17th, 2024. Please join me in a Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. It only takes a moment to seek favor of the Creator. All right, moving right into our public portion of the meeting, we're going to open with agenda item 3A. That sheet, pardon me. Lease signing for Veterans Day, or for the Veterans Department at Pony Village Mall. Mr. Lindsay, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen, ladies. James Lindsay, Director of Veteran Services. We want to continue the access to the most at-need Coos County veterans while maintaining community partner integration, referrals, and services in a centralized downstairs location. Coos County Veteran Services will move from the second floor 213 to downstairs 125B in the Pony Mall. This planned move continues the close proximity with Bend Veteran Services Clinic and Sovo, while allowing the office spaces for the veterans, confidentiality, quiet waiting area, ease access, plentiful parking, and a downstairs location with no elevators. We've had a couple of different veterans that we've had to call emergency services for, so, because they get to the top of the stairs and they can't move after that, so.
Right. Okay, very good. May I have a motion?
I move that we approve and sign release for Veteran Services Office, the Veteran Services Office to be moved to a downstairs unit at Pony Village Mall.
Second, any discussion on the board?
Real briefly,
Yes, sir.
what's the financial implications on this?
Right now,
That's why I had it off.
Right now, for the first year, the rent will stay the same at the $600 that we're paying for the upstairs. Beginning of the second year, it will bump up to $700. Normally, they charge $800.
Good deal.
Yep.
It's a good move.
So
Thank you.
it's a small price to pay for guaranteed access for our veterans.
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. Any other discussion, Commissioner?
No, sir.
Any discussion in the room on this agenda item? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Thank you, James.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next up is 3B, contract with Bandon Dunes Charitable Foundation. Good morning again, Eric.
Morning, Commissioners. Yes, we're requesting approval of a $8,000 grant from the Bandon Dunes Charitable Foundation, awarded to our Women, Infant, and Children programs Let's Get Cooking project. This project provides one major cooking device, measuring cups and spoons for clients to encourage healthy cooking at home to improve family health.
Okay.
I move we approve the agreement with Bandon Dunes Charitable Foundation and authorize Department Head Mike Rowley to DocuSign their $8,000 grant award.
Thank you for that motion, and I will second that. How many measuring cups do you get for $8,000?
Well, the idea is to serve about 150 families that utilize our WIC program, and it won't just be measuring cups and spoons. It'll also be like an air fryer, crock pots, if something that they can cook at home, healthy meals for themselves.
I think, would you take this opportunity, I think we have a short agenda today, to explain to everyone here what the WIC program is.
So the WIC program,
Wonderful program.
it's an amazing program. I actually did my doctoral research around the WIC program and postpartum depression and its benefits to mothers in those situations. But the WIC program is the Women, Infants, Children program. It's for mothers and families that are below a certain income gap, so in the lower socioeconomic status families that need help getting essential benefits like cheeses, milks, meats, formula for mothers that aren't breastfeeding. It really helps out families that are in need. It's such an important milestone for the children's development.
You said 150 families?
Yes, that's the goal.
That
Yes, sir.
works out to $53.33 per family. I think that's certainly that can be a help, and it's not very much. Any discussion in the room on this agenda item? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you to the Bandon Dunes Charitable Foundation for that generous support of people in our community. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that, Dr. Gleason. 3C, Coos County Fair Fund Resolution 24-12-208B. Hello, Lisa. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Great. Sorry I missed your fair board meeting last night.
Understandable.
I was tied up on a thing that I couldn't get away from.
Understandable. Thank you for acknowledging it, and thank you for having me today. I am here today to request that you approve Resolution 24-12-208B. These funds are coming from the Oregon Business. It is for the County Fairgrounds Operational Support Program. That those of us fairs that applied for this monies it was equally dispersed. So our portion of it was $94,112.
Okay.
I move that we approve and sign Resolution 24-12-210B and authorize the payment of the, I'm wrong. I just move we approve Resolution 24-12-208B in the manner of making additional appropriation in the amount of $94,112 within the county fair fund. This is money we received from a grant.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Commissioner, any discussion on this agenda item? Any discussion in the room? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you, Lisa.
There's no sound online.
No sound online. Thank you for that, Perry. Let's see.
Just a second here.
Yeah.
I gave you the wrong resolution number, the 24-12-208B.
Yeah, I don't know what you
Did
said.
I do that? Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
right. And I'm going to tell these people online they're working on sound and see what kind of magic Darius creates. And let's see. Not seeing anything changing here. Okay, I've asked the people online to advise when they can hear us. And in the meantime, maybe we can tell a story. And you know if you can hear me online. I'll tell you, this technical part of running these meetings is the bugaboo. That's not about you, Darius. It's a part of that world. We also had an anomaly where Commissioner Sweet's camera is not working, so nobody online.
Makes for a better meeting.
Makes for a better looking meeting anyway.
Could always take a short recess.
We could do that, yeah. Darius, would a short recess help you? All right, let's take 5 minutes, and I'll tell them online too. Sorry about this, guys. And we'll be back in 5 minutes.
Hey.
Because I couldn't get him from other gal, but Sandra said, did I get her?
She's got chicks out there?
Sandra has like 300 chickens. Are you kidding me? She said as soon as I get my husband off, they've got
Oh, okay, I was fascinated. Can you hear me all right with this?
I can, but I'm too close to you.
Okay, good.
Darn it, I should have said. I like your reaction time. He was like, yes, I
It's okay, she likes us, she's waving at us. I missed you yesterday, I was at the road department. Yeah.
They didn't ask.
Yeah. I'm trying to go Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. I am volunteering to work on their mapping program to create a way to link to documents that are applicable to that road segment. So that if you have the right of way, you can pull up the documents that create the right of way. I'm paying, it's not getting paid.
I got a
Well, last week.
Try paying for it.
Yeah, see if you volunteer.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's been my whole life. Bring out me.
I haven't paid for this. I haven't
It's good to know you're not like taking a flagging class.
I do a darn good job flagging, telling people what to do.
Oh, she's doing that, trust me. I've done that in emergency situations.
Yeah, we
I will flag.
It was funny as the old lady on the street.
Gary actually
Say that again.
I think we're good. Some of the settings on that go to.
I can understand the ones that were, you I don't know if people still high road. Yeah.
I mean, they can travel to different cities to like try to bring people in.
Okay, it has been 5 minutes. It's 9:46. And Darius says that we are up, and I see positive feedback in the chat, so it looks like we're good to go. So let's resume at agenda item 3D. with our land agent on Resolution 24-12-210B. Cole, good morning.
Good morning. Looking to pay a solid waste fee. Our road department was able to get out a couple months ago and clean up one of our foreclosed properties. And so that solid waste fee would be $19,333.38. But also, we exhausted all of our funds out of the land agent account. So we wanted to transfer $25,000 from the general fund to the land agent account.
I move that the board authorize and sign Resolution 24-12-210B and authorize payment of the attached invoice to Coos County Solid Waste in the amount of $19,333.38.
Second.
Let me explain this a little bit. We occasionally get properties back for non-payment of taxes. This particular property had some cleanup issues with it. It cost us $19,000 and more to do this. There's not enough money in the land agent's budget to pay for all of that. So in essence, he is getting a transfer of money from, what's the item we call it here?
Operating contingency?
Operating contingency fund, which is like a loan from the general fund in a way to the land agent fund. We expect this property to be sold, and we expect it to be enough, we can't guarantee that, but we expect it to be enough to cover these expenses. In either way, we're obligated to clean this property up. So in essence, this is kind of like a loan to the land agent, and he'll hopefully pay it back. Had the inquiry, could we take this from some other source? And this is the way it's done. We're giving land agent a little more operating money to carry him through until this land it has been cleaned up now, and it will be sold at auction. So I hope that kind of explains where we are. I get a couple of nods.
So the general fund should be made whole on this before the money is missed in the general fund.
I don't know that. There's enough money in the contingency, and
yeah.
so that I don't know whether it'll sell this year or next year,
right,
when we're planning to have an auction. But if that money, whatever we get from it, we'll pay this back.
And we certainly need to make the expenditure in order to make the property saleable.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
No other choice. All right. Any discussion in the room on this agenda item? Any discussion online? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks, Cole.
Item number 3E for the Sheriff's Department, additional appropriations for Resolution 24-12-209B. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. This is a cent appropriation. Basically, when they go out and conduct missions, they find that there's unlawful proceeds from drug sales. We seize money and forfeit it to the office. It helps keep scent going. And then in this case, it's an appropriation for $15,204.
I move that we approve and sign Resolution 24-12-209B in the matter of making an additional appropriation in the amount of $15,204 within the cent.
Very good. Very good. And second, Sheriff, what this $15,204? Do you have any idea what that was a division of? What was the original amount and among whom it was distributed?
I don't. It's in conjunction with the DEA. I believe they take 20% of the whatever the forfeiture is. So that should be 80% of the whatever that would be. I'm sorry.
Pretty low percentage for the feds, don't you think?
It is.
Huh.
It is, which is great. I mean, it benefits us. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah, it does. It's a
And-
little tongue in cheek.
And just as a side note, the support they've been providing us has been wonderful. I was originally a little leery to work with federal agencies, to be honest, but they have been fantastic with the amount of resources they're willing to help us with at our request. It's been great. So, good
Well,
partnership.
that's very refreshing.
It is. It's nice, actually.
Yes. Okay. Any discussion in the room on this agenda item? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Before you leave, Sheriff,
Yes, sir.
I believe that Cint had a very successful operation
They did.
recently. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So this was actually the intel or lead gained from other seizures that they've done led us to the most recent one. It was a little surprising. What they found was quite a bit of psilocybin mushrooms. They were growing, processing, selling, and we're still working through the details of how they're getting them out there, but it's pretty surprising. Additionally, 49 guns, some marijuana, some cash. It's been a huge operation. When I say some mushrooms, it was bins and totes and whole garages full. It was quite a bit of stuff. So that was, that's how these things kind of work often, is that they just one leads to the other, leads to the other, leads to the other, and it's unfortunately there's no end to the business that they have.
Yeah.
So
There's
Sheriff-
a good amount of weaponry as well.
Yes, 49 guns, including a 50 cal,
How much?
including a 50 caliber rifle.
Oh, my heavens.
Yeah.
Will that be going up for auction?
Possibly.
Sheriff, that site now has been a significant marijuana growing operation for years. You can smell it every time you drive by. And that marijuana grow on that site was a legal one, was it not?
Correct. I don't believe there's a license to them. That's right. That's what
Okay.
led us there.
So does this bust, and if you can speak about it, does this involve the same people who have that grow operation license?
I don't believe there was a license.
Oh, no license.
No license. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no license.
So it was an illegal grow.
Correct.
All that time, right next to Highway 101, an illegal grow?
There's unfortunately quite a few of them.
Okay.
It's keeping us busy.
Because, I mean, when you're driving up the highway and you see the exhaust fans and you smell that unmistakable smell, you just assume, well, that must be a legal grow.
Right.
They're right there.
And there's, excuse me, there is quite a bit of legal grows in the county, but even more illegal grows.
Yeah.
It's amazing, actually. And then the thing about that, too, marijuana is what it is, but it seems like we're like this with the psilocybin mushrooms, which is a Scheduled 1 drug. So according to the FDA, it's a Schedule 1, of course, obviously super illegal as well. The illegal marijuana grows often lead into other cases, other investigations.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. CINT stands for South Coast Interagency Narcotics Team. It was originally put together to include Coos County, Curry County, and many, if not all, of the cities within the two counties. Today, it's a team of one, and very successful individual.
Yeah,
He does a great job,
He's amazing.
as does the entirety of your department.
We're lucky to have the guys that work on it. Some of the contracts are really interested in the illegal narcotics enforcement as well. So when they can, they help. One of our other detectives is just a super go-getter, Davis. He's amazing. Then of course Sergeant Wittenberg, who you're talking about, who is the actual CINT for the counties.
So anyway, I'm very proud of our team.
Me too.
Our sheriff. And I'm happy that there aren't other governments in the counties, two counties, contributing to this. They do, they help during busts and stuff like that, but they don't help support it.
This one was an ERT operation as well, with the uncertainty. We took the team in and made sure everybody was safe, so they helped that way as well.
All right.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, Sheriff. Wait a minute. Did we pass that vote? Okay. Lost track there. Sorry. Okay, item 3F And just an FYI, I'm inserting those late agenda items right after our next one, 3G, just so you all know. 3F, approval of order 24-10-049PL in the matter of upholding the Planning Commissioner's decision to approve HBCU-24-001 with conditions and denial of appeal AP-24-004. That was quite an agenda title. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning. The board had a public hearing on the appeal. You guys moved to deny the appeal and uphold the Planning Commission's decision. We have went through the findings extensively, and now they're ready for you to sign. Once that happens, then there's a 21-day appeal period.
Say that, the end of that.
So once that happens, there's a 21-day appeal period.
That would be an appeal
to the
appeal of the appeal.
Yeah, so it goes to the land use, it goes to the Land Use Board of Appeals.
Yeah.
So, once you guys sign this, we send out a notice of decision, and then that starts the clock.
Indications are there will be a
Yes.
forthcoming to Luba. But in the meantime, I move that we approve order number 24-10-049PL in the matter of upholding the Planning Commissioner's decision to approve HBCU 24001 with conditions and denial of appeal number AP-24-004.
Second, any discussion on this one?
This relates to Bandon Dunes' newly announced golf course south of Bandon.
Is that all? Any discussion in the room on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Thanks, Joe.
And item 3G, BOC decision on health insurance. Good morning, Mrs. Morgan.
Good morning. We received notification from Oregon Teamsters Employers Trust of an increase in health insurance costs for the 2025 plan year. The increase for non-bargaining unit employees under OTET has increased by $111.27 per month per employee. Request board decide on whether to continue with the 90-10 split for the increased amount or other percentage. I would like to note that last year there was no increase, but this year they have decided on that $111 increase.
So, to start off the discussion, if we do,
Maybe we should have a motion. before
well,
we discuss.
I need to get some more information before I make a motion.
Okay.
This would mean that about $110, a little over $100 would be picked up, of the increase would be picked up by each employee, and the county would have about $10 or $11 to pick up, right? Other way, oh, I meant, excuse me, the other way around. County picks up 100, the employees pick up about 10. Megan, do you have an idea of what this would cost the general? These are,
How many employees are impacted by
that's
that?
what we're going to get here, I think.
That was authoritative sound.
I didn't mean it to be. This thing is scary.
Well, the hope is that those mics will work better than the omnidirectional mics that were there.
I feel like we're going to sing a duet.
So far, they seem to be working quite well.
Be careful, we can hear every word you're saying.
So overall, the entire county, 80 employees are under this insurance, and approximately 32 are in the general fund. So with a $100 increase on the county side, it would be $3,200 is all.
Okay.
Per month.
Yeah.
Right. So for all the affected employees, then I come up with about almost 107,000 for the year.
But, yeah, a lot of those have their
bring
own
my
funding
calculator.
source. They're not competing with other.
Yeah, right. So,
You're looking at
38,500. Yeah.
Well, given the fact that none of the non-union employees received a cost of living increase this year, and we all know that the cost of living has gone up quite a bit, I move that we continue with the 90-10 split for the increased insurance amount, at least until budget time, for the remainder of this fiscal year. Can we do that?
so under that model, then, we could theoretically arrive at budget time and then rescind or revise this percentage, thereby, extending something in the
Gives us flexibility in the next budget year to change, but right now, it's picking up the increase. But it's not tying us down for an extended period of time.
So given that you guys agreed on a percentage at the outset, there isn't any additional action needed unless you wanted to change the percentage.
That's,
Yeah.
So,
Carry on, basically.
so we don't even need to make a motion?
Not really, because it's already in place, right? The percentage, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm not inclined to vote to change the percentage at this time. So, yeah, my inclination would be to go ahead and roll with the status quo on this until we get the budget. All right.
Thank you.
So, roll on that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline and Megan. Okay, late agenda item, taking these a little out of order from what's on the calendar here. 5A, this is a request approval to purchase a new Moorbark BVR13 brush chipper. Do you have anybody from Roads? No, you wanna take this?
I'm going to take that one. Paul's ill and Jessica's swamped.
Okay.
The approval, as I understand, the approval of this brush chipper has already been granted. Am I right in that?
Correct, for
that's
62,000.
And what is changed is that we found that by buying it directly from Moorbark rather than from FMI Equipment, for whom we had originally granted approval, we can save over $1,000. So the move, so I would move that we approve the purchase of a new Moorbark BVR 13 brush chipper from Moorbark for $61,533.17.
And Commissioner, would your motion also need to include a rescission of the earlier agenda approval of the Moorbark brush chipper from FMI Equipment?
I'll leave that to legal counsel. I don't know.
Wouldn't hurt. You might end up with 2 fresh chippers.
And note that this would replace the original agreement to purchase the chipper from FMI Equipment.
Very good. I'll second that motion. I'm not sure what FMI Equipment's motivation was to inform us that we could bypass them, but we'll take it. Thank you, FMI Equipment, for losing that sale. We'll save the $1,000 and do it appreciatively. Is there any further discussion on this agenda item? It's fair to see the price go down, and we'll take it every time. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 5B, Memorandum of Understanding between Coos County and the Sheriff's Office related to the American Rescue Plan Act funds. And Counselor, you taking this?
Yeah, this is a memorandum of agreement that governs funds that the county received through American Rescue Plan Act. The MOU is necessary due to a deadline of December 31st, 2024 to obligate the ARPA funds. This MOU primarily obligates funds to the Sheriff's Office for the incinerator project. Been a number of meetings recently about the Sheriff's Office pursuing a new incinerator out at the animal shelter, and going through permitting and construction of a building to house the incinerator. So.
Okay, very good. Motion?
I move that we approve the memorandum of understanding on behalf of Coos County and authorize chair to sign.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
I did have one other comment on that before we go any further. And a question for Megan. We're obligating the funds, but not necessarily the interest that might accrue on those funds in the next 2 years. So it might make sense to modify the MOU to obligate the amount for the incinerator plus any interest earned on that.
Are you referring to the interest that the American Rescue Plan Fund will earn?
Yes, and because we have 2 years remaining to expend the funds after we obligate them, and the amount might increase, right? So the MOU might need to say, the amount that's in there today plus any interest earned on that amount would ensure we don't have some leftover funds.
So the interest doesn't fit under the same rules as the American Rescue Plan funds?
Volume doesn't get very loud, does it?
No.
Okay, understood. That was my question. Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, apparently, yeah.
We'll roll that $10 into something else. And I'll just point out that under this agenda item, use of those remaining ARPA funds to build this incinerator out of the animal shelter. One of the hopes is that we can contract for narcotics and other incinerated, because at this point, I believe there is not another operating incinerator.
Put my name in or something?
I think I have that right. But anyway, at one point there was only one, and it was in Burns, which is fitting for an incinerator, but nonetheless, it was a long drive. So hopefully we can actually generate some substantial revenue by contracting out that incineration to other agencies throughout the state. And our hope is to incinerate burn and instead.
I had to go to my Realtek speakers.
Okay. I just heard something on my, I just heard something. Some voice here. My speakers are off. I don't know where it came from. Anyway, any discussion, any other discussion, Commissioner?
No, sir.
In the room? Seeing none, none online, all in favor?
Aye.
And then item 5C, memorandum of understanding between Coos County, the Public Works Department, and the Sheriff's Office related to American Rescue Plan Act funds. Counselor?
Yep, this is another MOU for the Same reason, the December 31st deadline to obligate ARPA funds. This MOU primarily obligates funds to mitigating riverbank failures of the Coos County natural gas pipeline. This has been a problem throughout the years for the county.
Very good. Motion?
I move that we approve the memorandum of understanding relating to ARPA funds being used for repair of the natural gas pipeline on behalf of Coos County and authorize the chair to sign.
Second. Very good. And there will be a meeting later today at 1:30 regarding the repair of that pipeline. So if that's of interest, I encourage you to come back for that. Any discussion on this one, Commissioner?
Again, for the benefit of those who may not know what this is about, the county's gas pipeline was, in some part, the right-of-way used for it was the old railroad right-of-way between Coquille and Myrtle Point. When the railroad went out of business, that property came to the county. It was used for the gas pipeline. Unfortunately, the river in that area has decided to change its course and has undermined the right-of-way and left the pipe somewhat exposed. So we need to deal with that, and this will provide us money to deal with it. It's gas service, although we don't make any money off of our gas pipeline. It's used by quite a few residences. It's also used by some of our major employers. In this instance, the Roseburg Forest Products plant here in Coquille, which is just finishing up on a $50 million investment to assure the continuity of that facility. So this is an important item, and I think a very good use of the American Rescue Plan funds. So that's the explanation.
Okay. Very good. And is there any discussion on the item? Seeing none. None online. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And lastly, moving back to the 3 area, item 3H, discussion of a public safety donation proposal. Commissioner Sweet.
I don't know if there's any action to be taken on this today or not. But during last week's, I think it was last week, discussion regarding having to let go of some of our valued employees, the possibility of funding the sheriff's office with donations came up. We decided to postpone that discussion until today. There was not time to put together a donation plan that would have given us any assurance that we could continue to employ the people we had to let go. I remind you that the cost of having them employed was running about $10,000 a day of money we don't have. $330,000 a month. We needed to act. So we did. During those discussions, the Solid Waste Department came to us and volunteered a one-time $400,000 payment to the Sheriff's Department, in essence, that they felt they could afford to part with. They also thought that their operations would support another $300,000 a year surplus, in addition to what they needed to fund renewal of equipment and whatever repairs they have to make. We also dedicated that, as I recall, to the sheriff's department. My proposal, my suggestion, and I don't know quite to whom to make it, Chris normally is here to carry the load on this. You might pass this on to him. The $300,000, I can't guarantee it, but feel pretty confident that that is a sustainable match. The other match that was asked about was to come from the forestry fund. And if we took the match from there, it would immediately impact the money we have to fund next year. So it really was not a workable place. But this is kind of new money that we didn't count on having. And so if those people that are interested in making the match, we're giving it a try, I think this is a good time to do it. I think if they could, because donations, we can't be sure what they are or what they will amount to until we have them in hand. So it would be foolhardy to say I'm going to pay for this on this money I may or may not have. So I can see a way that the donations could be made to work if people were willing to make the donations, but we would need to have the money in hand at the time of budgeting for next year. So that would put us, need to have, that we've already dedicated $300,000, so it's going to be there this year, whether we get donations or not. But if the people are in the mood to give, there's kind of a match. Going forward, we could continue to pledge that $300,000 to the sheriff's department as a match, and make it contingent upon continuing to have $300,000 of donations come in. This year, again, the $300,000 will go to the sheriff. Donations or not. Donations would help. Next year, if they get the donations in to match that 300, it will continue to be. Now, I say it can continue to be. I'm only one person. The entire board of commissioners would have to agree to that. So I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. It gives us a chance to see if this might work and stick our toe in the water, so to speak, and not do it to the tune of $1 million or more dollars, something that if it doesn't work out, it could be enough money to really hurt us to not have. At any rate, that's, unless other people have questions, that's all I had to suggest.
So I'll follow up on there, Commissioner Sweeting, and clarify that this donation concept was not for the, it was to assist with the operation with the funding of public safety, that being the sheriff's department and the jail primarily. Also consistently referenced the district attorney as a key aspect of the need to maintain that funding and that operational capacity. But, you know, when this topic was raised by Chris Castleman, who you referenced earlier in your comments, the concept was that he thought he could raise 1.1 million if we would match with 1.1 million from any variety of sources, which did include some of these solid waste funds, and did include some of the rolling forestry fund, which obviously there are problems with that concept. But when we declined as a body to commit to matching those donations one-to-one out of those particular funding sources, the interest in pursuing this donations concept was diminished somewhat on the parts of the people who were involved in that idea. So whether this is something that can be restarted on this new, smaller basis or not is a question that remains to be answered. And I'm not anywhere near 100% confident that that can be accomplished. But, you know, I have had additional conversations with Mr. Castleman, and you know, he remains committed to helping the county in any way that he can, which isn't necessarily, you know, I think we've seen from that there might be room for some improvement in some of those tactics. But anyway, you know, we're committed to try to continue to work together, and I'm hopeful that we can find a basis to move forward on this more limited basis. And we'll see how that works out, particularly in light of other developments that will be coming down the pike here in the next few days. So anyway, I think your initial comment about this, John, is right, that there's not really anything to do on this today except to articulate what we've just articulated. And if anybody in the room has, or online has any comments in regards to this topic, we certainly would entertain that. Please, Eric.
Perry Holman from Coos Bay. First part I want to bring up is the conversations over this have been ongoing for a long time. So just because it was brought up last week, it wasn't a last minute decision on your guys' part. I want to make sure that's clear. You guys have been able to think about it for a while.
Well, if I may, the matching aspect of it was new. That hasn't been discussed for a year.
No, I'm not talking about a year. But Mr. Sweet said that it was brought up last week, and technically it's been talked about a lot longer than that. Every aspect of it.
Sure.
So it's not a last minute, hey, it was brought up last week, we got to decide on it last week. That's not what happened. It had been turned down for quite a while from Mr. Sweet. And I want to make sure that's clear. Second, you guys have already destroyed the jail. The jail is the biggest part. Without a jail, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many public defenders we have. It doesn't matter how many, anything. It doesn't matter. We can only house a few people, and how many, I mean, what, 7, 8 of those beds are murderers right now? Something outrageous. There's not many beds available. We've given quite a bit trying to make this work. Chris has given way too much. The 300,000, and the citizens given 300,000. I don't know how many deputies that would be, but we need some kind of guarantee that we can get that jail open again. We need some guarantee that we can have prosecutors. We need something, because it's bad enough already. If you listen to the scanner, it's unreal, the people that are just running around all day long, causing havoc all through town already, and the jail's still open. You cut it in half, it's going to be 100 times worse, and you guys know it. And without getting the jail open, it's not going to do much. Deputies will be running around getting paid, but I mean, how many people are going to actually be arrested? We need that jail open. And
That's right.
If you guys had any, well, if John had any idea the enthusiasm that we were getting for this funding, you'd be surprised. I don't know what kind of money we could get, but it would be a lot. And we've hardly asked anybody.
Well, thank you for that, Perry. And I'll say to you that don't ever give up hope for a rekindling. You never know when it's going to come. So thank you for your comments. Anybody else commenting on this discussion? Yes, Daria.
Okay, I just have some questions. My name is Daria Lakey. I'm from Coquille. I haven't been, this is actually my first commissioners meeting. I haven't been in any before, but I talk to people that come, and so, you know, my interest is piqued.
Well, we're glad that
So,
long last.
I know, darn it. I just told your wife, I need to come to more of these. So my question is, I'm a bookkeeper, I'm a mom, I'm a taxpayer. Whatever happened, I'm listening to this, the county's gonna pay $100 more a month per employee for health insurance, right? Is that what I heard?
That's what you heard.
Has anybody looked into other health companies? Have we looked into other options? I as a bookkeeper, am always trying to find ways to cut Danessa's budget. That's who I bookkeep for. She's got 5 businesses, and I bookkeep for every single one of them. If the power bill goes up, I'm on the phone. If anything of hers goes up, I'm on the phone. Have we looked for other options? You talk about safety, okay? But then you turn around and say, we want to pay $100 more per month per employee. Look at me as a taxpayer. I'm going, what the heck? Do I want that coming out of my taxpayer? Nobody pays $100 for me a month for my health insurance. Nobody. You know, why are they only paying $10? Maybe the percentages should be different. Maybe we should still kick in a little bit of the taxpayer money because they are public servants. But the county has gotten full of waste. And I know that at one of the discussions here, it came up about an oversight committee. I will volunteer my time to be on that committee to oversee the waste in this county. The budget, what it's spent on, who's doing what. Because there are too many people that are not doing their job the way I feel, and a lot of other people that I've talked to in Coos County feel the same way. That's why we all voted no. And then you take away public safety. That's BS. Public safety is the #1 concern above the economy or below the economy in this county, because that guy that just talked was right. Golders Napa, she had a lady throwing a damn block through her window. I mean, and then she was out of control. This lady was out of control. The police came. She was a mess. It happens all the time. I drive down the road. I see people jacking off on the side of the road. I'm serious. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And what are we doing with these criminals? Our public safety should be #1. Above and beyond paying for health, paying for people to do nothing, whatever. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's like that. Okay, that's not exactly what I'm saying. But I think we will all agree that even in the government, anywhere, any job, I don't care, you could go to Roseburg Lumber, I don't care where you go. But I just want to see that things are transparent and that the taxpayers have a little bit more faith in our county government. Because right now, I think it's almost like the federal government, we're like, this is crap. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel.
Thank you. Bill.
Phil Thompson, Coos Bay. I'm not arguing with that lady about the insurance, but where I worked in unions and stuff, in which each employees are covered by the union, they've gave up raises to pay for the insurance they give too. It's not just, we're going to give you this. So I'd hate for us to come down on the employees. We might have to cut employees off, but you're going to kill them all. They'll quit if they don't have insurance. I pay about $600, me and my wife, a month, plus our Medicare and the other stuff. So nobody's paying my insurance, but I still don't want to see these young people with babies, families, trying to make a living and can't afford to go to the doctor. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
And, I'll point out that the union contract that was negotiated on behalf of this particular group of employees that's affected here, even though that's not part of this agenda item, but I'll just visit on it. But the potential for increases in that health coverage, that was built into that contract. And so the union, the health care coverage increase is at the behest of the union, not at the behest of the county nor the employees themselves. And the discussion that we entertained today was whether to alter the percentage. We can't just deny it. We can't just say you can't do that because that's built into the contract. Am I misspeaking in any way, Counselor?
Then alter the percentage. Go 50-50.
Well,
whatever.
All right.
The percentage could be revisited in the next budget year.
Yeah, right.
It's an order of the board.
Pleased to see that Madam Treasurer has input on this as well. It's always instructive.
So what we were talking about today was only for non-union and elected officials.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. So strike my comments.
Yes. I just wanted to make that
for
clear.
That slight embarrassment.
Sorry.
Hey, I brought it on myself, so there you go. All right, so I guess we could have handled that in an alternate way there, but we did put a cap on it, a time cap on it to revisit it when we're discussing the budget. So, we don't have a mechanism to go back and rewind that tape right now. So that is what it is. Any other discussions regarding this donation participation proposal that has been discussed? Yes, Susan.
Suze Kirkendall, Coos Bay. Just a question, because I'm an advocate for this. It seems like small portions coming from the public. So there's my question is the public going to have an opportunity, the citizenry, to inject into the fund? Because it sounded like it was larger donations maybe coming from corporations or the dunes or whatever, but I would be more than happy to contribute. I can't contribute a lot, but I would do a little.
Yeah, and I know that there are many like you, and the answer is unequivocally yes. There would be opportunities for people to participate at any level.
So the second question, is it going to be similar like a GoFundMe or a...
Well, not a GoFundMe. The exact mechanism is not really defined.
Okay.
And honestly, at this point, the participants in this organization are not even defined.
Okay.
So I don't know if we're going to have a machine to move forward, or what that's going to look like. I anticipate that it would be dependent on a lot of volunteerism that has yet to step up. And so
I like being volunteerism, so.
Yeah, I know. Well, you put your money where your time is. So that's...
It's a skill set. If I could just find that, we'd really be on the move.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
I can say this, that last year, I think our general fund got a couple $100 in donations. The fair gets quite a few donations.
Yes.
And there's nothing to keep people from making donations to the county and you would get a form, and Megan, correct me if I'm getting off track here at all, and you could specify on that form how the money is to be used. And if we accept the money, that's what has to happen. At the fair, for instance, we'll get a donation, say we want this to go to fixing up the rodeo arena. We can't use it for anything else. Can't use it for the sheriff. We can't use it for fixing anything else up at the fair. And so that option is out there individually to donate as you wish.
So
This is a little bit more than that. This is the concerted effort to donate for a certain cause, public safety.
So how do you donate to the fair, and can that shift over to the sheriff's department?
Yes.
We can't do that, but you can say, I want to continue making, say you're donating $100 a month, I don't know what, and you say it's going to go to the fair. You could come in and say, I want to change that, and I want it to go to the sheriff's department.
Where do we come into? Where do we go to?
Go see the treasurer.
The treasurer.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Is that, Megan, am I off track on anything here?
Ron, I'm not sure if people online heard her comments.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that they're not. They'll hear Megan's though.
So I just wanted some clarification. Are you talking about actually moving previously donated funds to another department?
No.
No, you're just donations of new funds. Yeah, so you could go pretty much to any county department, but I mean, my office has the form, every county department has access to the form. So, but yeah, we're more than happy to take your money.
So
And one other thing, we can't, a donation is a donation.
Yes.
It's not an obligation,
Right.
not a legal obligation. So we have to have the money in hand at the time we're budgeting for the upcoming fiscal year in order to budget spending that money. We can't just say, well, John said he'd pay $100 a month for the rest of the year and budget spending that. Because maybe John wouldn't do that. So, but anyone can donate anytime they want.
Did not
Do
know
any specific legal thing that we do. I just hope we don't do any illegal thing.
Is there a way to do it online?
yes.
There's a way to do it online. It says.
Not at this time, because it requires you to specify on a specific form on how you want those funds to be spent. However, if you did call my department, we would be happy to email you the form and you can mail it in.
We can pay our taxes online.
Yes, you can.
We can.
But we need-
Taxes online. It was commented from the room.
But in order to make sure that your donation goes to the specific purpose you're wanting it to, we need that form filled out. And that's, if you were to pay online, it would just be an amount, and we would have no way of knowing exactly what you wanted that spent on.
Unless it was specifically for.
Unless there was such an accommodation made on the website that donated funds online could be designated for a particular purpose. I mean, that is technologically possible.
It is possible, yes.
We'd probably want some signature, some way to verify that the person
Knows what they're paying.
Yeah.
Or what their money's going to. So, and that's kind of where the form comes into play.
Sure.
And then also that form creates a receipt, so your donation becomes tax deductible.
So that's worthy of note as well. Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other comments in the room on this discussion? discussion?
Yeah.
Again, Harry?
So the online payment option was part of this plan, to set up monthly payments, which kind of bucks the idea of having cash in hand. You have guarantees. Now, granted, not everybody's going to end up paying the monthly all year, but if they're willing to do it, there's a pretty good chance that they're willing to stick through it. Most people are willing to only spend what they can. So that's a couple things. You know, it would fix the online donations, and it would not guarantee your funds, but it would be very close to guaranteeing a yearly amount of funds when they sign up. So that's the other little distinction. Even though it's not true cash in hand, it's pretty close.
Yeah. I appreciate that. We still, I mean, statutorily, we can't budget on that basis. We have to have, I mean, I know somebody's word is good, you know it, but that's not good enough for the statute. Unfortunately, that's the way, those are the parameters we work within. We can budget on intergovernmental agreements where we don't have the cash in hand yet, because that factors differently. But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, we have to work within these parameters as long as we're working in this system. That's what we have to work with. Okay, any other comments in the room? Okay, let's go ahead and close that portion of the meeting and move on to the consent calendar.
Move we approve the consent calendar?
Okay, I will second, but there is a discussion to be had on one of the orders in resolution, one of the orders on the consent calendar. This is order 24-12-057C in the matter of reappointing Sven Backman to the Coos County Budget Committee. And there was a comment submitted to me that I agreed to enter into the record, and this will be open to comments for others as well. So
well, I just want to clarify the process here. So under the county rules, you have any agenda item eligible for placement on the consent calendar may instead be placed on the regular agenda at the discretion of the chair. It sounds like that's what you're doing here. You're taking something that was on the consent calendar.
That's correct. That would, yeah.
Moving
Thanks
it
for
off.
that clarification, Counselor. So we'll move this item off of the consent calendar and reopen the public portion of the meeting to regular agenda items with this as the item under consideration now. So with that, the concern is about the county's process in going through appointments to the budget committee, because there are other individuals who are interested in those roles. And so this comment is from Chris Castleman, who lives around Coos Bay. He says, public trust and perception is paramount. The current trust in our government is quite low, and the public perception when it comes to finances is that the government is hiding information and meetings are being held practically in secret. Don't believe me? Well, let's consider some questions that a concerned citizen might have about the Coos County Budget Committee appointment on today's consent calendar. When was public notice given for this vacancy on the Budget Committee? Where can the public find out how this committee operates? Who makes appointments? When does it meet? Who's on the committee? When do their terms expire? Where are the meeting minutes? What decisions have they made? How did they vote? What did they vote on? And most importantly, how do I participate? How might I find the answer to those questions? Well, let's be a good citizen and take some initiative. So He has some screenshots, some county website screenshots here that I can't really share, but
If you hold them up in front of your face, the camera will pick them up so that people can see.
yeah, all right, sure, I'll do that. He says, I navigate to the current budget committee page on the county website and find that it has 0 information. And here is that image of that page. At a bare minimum, it should list the current members of the committee, their credentials, bio, and when their terms expire. It should also have an explanation about what the committee does, when they meet, why they meet, who appoints them, and how they make decisions. There should be a list of tentative future meeting dates, as well as a list of past meeting dates, decisions, recordings, and minutes. But maybe that information exists on other parts of the website. Nope. This is what you get when you search on the county website for budget committee. And this is that web capture. And it includes budget committee meeting notice, budget committee meeting notice. These are for different years, different dates. They're just meeting notices. The only results were the past few years of meeting notices for the budget committee. No committee applications, no public notices of vacancies, no public notices of appointments, no information on the makeup of the committee or how people get appointed, no meeting minutes, no meeting recordings, nothing. But maybe there's something in the Coos County Code or county rules. Nope, this is what you see when you look at the county codes. And this is just the lead page on the county codes in the resources section of the county website. I searched all of the county code and county rules posted on the website. I had to manually open every individual PDF, 30 total, and search within each document. I did not find any details of budget committee except one mentioned that the Board of Commissioners also sits as part of the Coos County Budget Committee, but no details about appointments or procedures. Out of all the hundreds and hundreds of pages of codes and ordinances, you get this one sentence, which says, the board also sits as part of the Coos County Budget Committee. And that is also from the screen capture right there. And we're almost done here. Oh, not as much almost as I thought. But maybe there's an upcoming meeting that I can attend, so I check the calendar. Nope, nothing. This is what you get. You search the meeting calendar for the term budget, and there's nothing showing there. But maybe you can ask one of your elected officials how to get involved in the committee. Well, you can, but they just tell you the committee members are appointed by the commissioners and the road ends there. No application process. Nothing. So this is a major part of why the public perception is that you guys operate in secret and are trying to hide financial decisions. It doesn't mean that's true, that you meet in secret or hide things. But it should not be surprising based on everything I've outlined as to why citizens would come to that conclusion. I will say that I personally took the initiative to bother the heck out of the commissioners and treasurer this past year and was able to attend almost all of the budget hearings in March and April and June and December and ask a ton of questions and even participate in some discussions. This was almost entirely because of Commissioner Taylor's commitment to transparency, and I commend him for those efforts. Thank you, Chris. We even got a few of those meetings recorded and broadcast on YouTube, which I appreciate immensely because I was able to use them to get some other passionate citizens involved and interested in the budget process. I was also able to share more quality information with the public because my attendance at those meetings and the publications of the recent budget meetings on YouTube. However, that kind of time commitment and persistence should not be expected of every citizen or any regular citizen for that matter, and the county website should have a lot more information about the budget committee. In addition, there should be a transparent process put in place where public notice is given of committee vacancies and a time period given where interested citizens are sought out, encouraged to complete applications, and interviews are conducted. I'm not aware of that process existing currently, nor do I find any evidence of any county records that are readily accessible to me. Lastly, you have a new commissioner-elect that will be starting in just a few weeks. He should be involved in committee selections that will almost certainly impact the next 4 years of his tenure. I urge you to postpone this committee appointment, create a fair, thorough, and transparent selection process, and update your website with valuable information about the Budget Committee and its processes. To do anything else would only further destroy the public trust and cement the current perception that you are hiding operations and decisions from the public. Chris Castle. So, those are Chris's comments. There's a lot to speak to here about what the Budget Committee process, selection process is. Chris's inability to find any information about that process on the county website is of concern. I wasn't aware of that dearth of information, but it does appear to me that the process needs to be better defined on the county website, and that information needs to be available to the public. So, and I also I put credence in the points that Chris makes, or the point that Chris makes about this being one aspect of sort of the engendered public distrust of county government. And I've been actually stunned at some of the allegations that I've seen of corruption and waste and all of that frankly doesn't have any basis in reality, but to somebody who has a perception, that perception is reality until it's dispelled. And to whatever degree I've been culpable in failing to dispel those notions, mea culpa, but we do try to speak to people transparently and fully about anything that comes up. And I've certainly made many invitations to people who allege waste and abuse in the county budget. I've extended numerous invitations to people to come into my office, sit down, I'll sit down with you, we'll go through the budget, you show me where it is, because I don't know. We've been through this and over it, and I'd like to see, so come show me. And frankly, I can only recall ever one individual taking me up on that, and that was Chris Castleman. So there's no shortage of bad, erroneous, and frankly, not very useful information that flies around on Facebook. I've seen it, it's garbage, and I can't believe some of the stuff that people think, but, we're here to address it, not to ridicule it. And so, for my part, I'll say I'll always be open to having any of those conversations with anyone. Any other comment on this?
Well, I want to say that Mr. Backman is perhaps the best budget committee member we've had during the 10 or 12 years that I've served as commissioner. Agreed. He takes it very, very seriously.
Yep.
He attends here today.
He is.
He stays tuned in to what's going on in the county. He knows the budget inside and out. He is a great member. However, and I hope he would agree with me, that I think that we need, from what I've heard today, and I'm not saying it's all right, and that's why I'm going to suggest that we postpone Mr. Backman's appointment if timing allows, Bobby, which it does, and review our procedure to make sure that we're doing an appropriate job. I can't answer the questions that Chris brought up today, and I think we need to address those. So I move that we withdraw from the consent calendar order number 24-12057C, pending a review of the processes we use for appointing budget committee.
Very good, and I second that motion, and I also second Commissioner Sweet's comments about Mr. Backman's qualifications and performance on the Budget Committee. Very much appreciated, Sven, and I've never seen anything but competence and professionalism and good input from you in that context, and appreciate it very much. But I do agree with Commissioner Sweet's assertion that honoring some of these points that Mr. Castleman has raised is valid and the right thing for us to do as a governmental body in order to enhance that public perception of transparency. Because that perception will be consistent with reality, which is that we are transparent. I just want that to be understood and correctly perceived among the populace. Please, David.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is David Jennings. I'm from Coquille. I think it might well be reasonable, based on what both of you have said, to take a look at this process of appointing people. But I do want to really emphasize, unless you can get somebody that is incredible, that I think it'd be a real shame if you didn't reappoint Sven to the Budget Committee. I attended, as I think you knew, quite a few Budget Committee hearings, and then back before the COVID pandemic, I attended some of them, so I've seen a lot of them, and then years previous I did. And he really is a very, very competent, very dedicated, very hardworking Budget Committee member, and I just think it'd be a shame if you didn't reappoint him to that, because he has both the skill and the motivation to do a good job. I appreciate Chris Castleman, but on the other hand, I do think it needs to be noticed that some of the distrust and some of the I don't know what you'd say by the public, is possibly generated by him himself, because remember that he came in about a year ago at different times and was getting the idea that, well, the fiscal crisis of the county, at least in regards to public safety, could be just solved by taking money from Cruise Health and Wellness or doing all sorts of other things that are either outright illegal or would probably get you in a lot of trouble. Now, I don't want to be too critical of him, because he does seem very enthusiastic and he has a lot of energy. But at the same time, I think you need to take what he says with a grain of salt, just simply because he has a real tendency to scattershot out a lot of stuff. And it isn't always well-founded. The other thing I'd mention, I would have looked at this a little more, but I didn't know it was going to be an issue. State law does govern the governing committee and how it operates. And the Department of Revenue puts out, I think it's about a 26-page, I don't know what you call it, paper that reviews, local budgeting. And then they have some huge manual that I think is around 300 pages that goes over that stuff in more detail. And I'm not saying anybody should try to sit down and memorize that, but there's considerable information out there about how budget committees work and what the legal parameters of them are. But in any case, as I said, it's fine to withdraw this, but I certainly hope you do not lose him as a budget committee, because I think that would be a terrible loss for the committee.
Very good. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. And I do find it, unlikely that in a more available, accessible format to the public, that a better qualified candidate could be found than Mr. Backman. But I do think that extra step of transparency and accessibility will be conducive to greater public trust, and I'm keenly interested in that. So, yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, gentlemen. I did want to echo Brandy Martindale, Coquille. I'd like to echo Chris's sentiment that the lack of transparency is what has fostered distrust. when someone goes to look for this information, I've recently gotten involved myself, and finding out just when these meetings are was hard. I had to dig, and
The
it
budget
takes.
meetings, you mean?
Yeah, finding out when, the city operations. I live in the county, and so we're kind of neglected a little bit. We're not really, as I think, included in some of the things. We're not communicated with as effectively. But I just wanted to dig a little deeper into the idea of transparency and urge you guys to consider the opportunities that you have to educate the public. YouTube channels where you guys do podcasts, where you talk to the public about how these things function. Because when people don't understand, their imagination naturally takes over. And so while this gentleman is probably an excellent person for the position, the fact that no one else has an opportunity to compete for that position, to have a say, is a huge problem. I have a master's degree in social organizational psychology from Columbia University and have worked as a political systems analyst. I would love to get involved with things like this. And Rod, I'm probably going to take you up on your offer to come to your office and review the budget with you. I'd love to take a look and learn more about it. But the information is so hard for us to find that we come to the assumption that I guess they don't want us to have the information. And yes, I commend the two of you for moving forward to create a more transparent process for selecting this budget committee. You know, when Chris and I talked about forming a Doge-style committee to look through the budget for efficiencies, and Megan had stated that sounds like an inefficiency. Well, her knowing what she knows, of course she would see that double up on work. But for us who are looking for an oversight committee, looking for information, we couldn't find it. And so of course we're thinking we should put something like that together. Little did we know that there's already a budget committee in place, but I don't know how many people are on it. I don't know when these positions are up. I don't know how to apply to be on it. And so for those of us who are just dying to get involved, we want to have a say in how our tax dollars are spent. The information isn't out there for us to readily access. And the majority of people they don't have the time, and they have so much going on in their lives that they can't dig through. They don't have the time, or maybe even the savvy, to dig through pages and pages of websites and find the stuff. So I think presenting it to the public in a more transparent way, even maybe having a Facebook group that is the Board of Commissioners, where you guys put out everything you're doing and take an opportunity to make videos about why you make the decisions that you make. So for the people who can't attend these meetings, I mean, I'm using PTO for all of these things that I'm doing. You know, I'm using my personal time off, and my work is gracious enough to let me take the time to come and be here. But a lot of people don't have that luxury. They can't leave. And so I think for you guys to reach out to the public and communicate to them in a way that, wow, this stuff actually does make sense. Now I see why they're making the decisions that they're making, would go a huge distance to improving that trust. And once you have that trust, then you get the support. And so it's kind of a holistic approach. But I think postponing this until we can get a more transparent process was the right decision. And I do commend the two of you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brandy, I'd like to respond. I thank you very much. Thank you for being here today. Communications is very difficult. It's very difficult for us to reach everyone in the county. We don't know what each particular person might want to know, and to give enough coverage. I don't know that we can, how hard it would be to do it. And I'll admit to not being up on social media and all that stuff. But I also want you to know, and everyone else to know, that we're here. And if you have a specific question, if you're interested in a particular, whether it be the fair board, the budget committee, whatever, generally people reach out and say, hey, I'm interested in doing this. And I find that a very effective way. If they're not interested, it costs money to to make everyone in the county aware of everything that we're doing. I don't know that we can get that done, but we can respond really quickly to individual requests for information or for positions on an advisory committee, the budget committee, the fair board, all those things. We'd love people.
I will say that Facebook and YouTube are free. All it takes is your time.
But that's also a matter.
Commissioner Sweet, what about all those people I see come in and they want to talk to a commissioner and you always slam your door and hide? No, that's not true. He doesn't do that. He talks to everybody that it comes. Somebody comes in to talk to me, and when they're walking by John's office, he reaches out and grabs them first. I'm like, I had an appointment, man. What are you doing? No, we are extremely open to anybody who comes in the door. We'll sit down and talk, if time permitting, of course, or we'll always schedule an appointment as well. So, but thank you for your very well-spoken comments. Very well taken.
Thank you. Okay, did we vote on postponing approval of order? Or?
We have not voted on postponing that. You made a motion, and I'm not sure if I seconded that motion. I think I did. Okay, so as far as the motion of postponing Order 24-12-057C, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Now let's proceed with the consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar as changed.
As altered. Very good. Any discussion on the consent calendar as it stands? This moment, seeing none. All in favor? Aye. Very good. Oh, yes. Okay, I did second it. Yes, okay. We have covered the late agenda items, and so we move into commissioner comments. Commissioner Sweet.
Two things. I want to recognize the tragedy that happened this morning or yesterday in Madison, Wisconsin, with another school shooting. I don't want this to be taken as my being on one side or the other of guns, but I don't think, anyway, I won't go there, but I will note, I saw on the news that this is the 84th school shooting in this calendar year. You do the math, that's like 1.6 shootings per week. One such incident every 4 or 5 days. And that's a lot. Again, I don't have an answer, but I know it's a problem. And that's tragic. Tragic to send your children to school and not be sure they're going to come home that day. The other thing's quite a bit happier than that. Sometimes we fail to give thanks to some of our employees for the jobs they do. And I recognize that there are some that don't do as well. But by and large, our county employees are good employees. We have to compete for them with other employers, with other governmental organizations. And I don't think that our county, if you do an employment, a study of compensation, that in very many instances you'll find that we're ranking above other options that our employees have. But I'd like to talk today about one particular employee who's been with us for a long time. He's trained multiple commissioners. I don't know how she manages it. Bobby, and I want to thank her. And also note that today is her birthday.
Oh! Happy birthday!
I'd like to be shot for that. That's all I have.
All right, well, I have to second in on that and say that, before I became a commissioner, I had not nearly enough appreciation for Bobby and all that she does, but so many times I could have very easily gone off track in this seat, done something that I was not legally authorized to do because, I just want to do stuff and get it done. Unfortunately, there are all these roadblocks that are set up, and Bobby knows where they all are. And when I start heading down that road, she says, oh, you can't do that. Here's why. And there isn't anybody that I have encountered in this position who has more institutional knowledge than that lady right there. So Bobby, thank you very much.
When you become a commissioner, the Association of Oregon Counties has a program called County College, and all incoming commissioners are encouraged to go there. Not everyone has to, but it's encouraged. It's a great program. But working with Bobby, not only you get the AOC program, you also get graduate school. He really trains us well.
Thank you for that insertion into my commissioner comments, Commissioner.
I thought I could improve on what you said.
I'll remember that. I'll remember that next time. Because there were 3 times I was tempted to insert on yours.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You always do.
Yes. No, not always. I do exercise some self-restraint. But, since the topic of school shootings was raised, it's a grim and terrible thing that we see in this nation. But I think I would be remiss to let comments about this be made without pointing out that what we can do as a society is stop allowing our children to be brainwashed into this radical woke leftism that has been pushing down our pike for decades. Because one thing that I notice about school shooters, and you don't see this in the news because they never report on it, they never point out that these school shooters are all of a leftist mindset. They're all of a leftist bent. There isn't a conservative thinker among them that I'm aware of. And yet it's hidden. That's a hidden fact. So what we need to do is correct our college tenure processes, our college funding situation, and we need to defund universities that are teaching our children to not be able to think critically, but to think dogmatically. So that's what I'll say about that. This past week, my wife and I went up to Salem to attend the Association of ONC Counties annual meeting. And in that meeting, we meet with one commissioner from each of the ONC counties so that we don't have an actual public meeting situation. And we discuss what our next steps are, where we've been, and where we're going in terms of trying to right the path on this ONC funding issue that we continue to struggle in regards to. There was the Bureau of Land Management representatives were there, and they disseminated the typical measure of blah blah that you would expect. Pretty much the same thing that we heard last year from them, with one notable exception. This year, the BLM is looking ahead to a year with a Donald J. Trump administration. And that is going to have an effect on BLM policy. Not immediately, I don't anticipate. I've gotten through some back channels that the Trump administration is going to be primarily initially concerned with improving access to oil production, because that is a national economic driver where timber is a regional one. And so that makes sense. I understand it. But I do hope, and our congressional representatives and their staff are pushing for an accelerated review of NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act, Endangered Species Act, and other departmental policies and litigations and whatever else is negatively impacting our diminishing timber harvest revenues. We are putting pressure on them to reevaluate that. And hopefully that rises to the administration level at a very fast pace, and we see some reversal of the direction we've seen things go. So that was, there were some moments of hope, and I'm very encouraged with the new leadership that we see in AOCC. We did vote for officers, and Bob Main is obviously not here anymore. He was the vice president of AOCC, and now the new vice president is Commissioner Craig Pope from Polk County. A very good, solid, somebody who I find virtually universal agreement with philosophically. I think Craig's going to serve very well, and he's been in AOCC for quite a number of years. So, Commissioner Derek DeGroot from Klamath County was elected Secretary and Treasurer. He should serve well in that role as well. I don't think I had anything else that I needed to share. I'm just going to double check my calendar real quick to make sure there wasn't anything worthy of note there that I should mention today. There is not. And so I will conclude my comments and open this to citizen comments. Do we have a sign-up sheet up here yet? First up, Bill Thompson. Bill says, no, I've already said my piece. Very good. Next up was Daria Lakey. Next up was Daria Lakey.
I have a question. Okay, did you see the little forms I laid on your desk?
Yeah.
My name is Daria Lakey. I am a resident of Coquille and a registered voter in the state of Oregon. So I got a picture of this card that our clerk's office mailed out, and I read it and I automatically just was like, what the heck? This looks like voter fraud all over the place. I typed out what the card says because it's so hard to read because it's a photograph. But it says, by signing and returning this card, I am stating, and this is a choice, I am an eligible Oregon voter, activate my registration with the information below, or you can choose, I am no longer an Oregon resident and wish to be removed from the voter records. Then it asks for your name, your mailing address, and it says you must sign your registration update. And I swear or affirm that I am qualified to be an elector and have told the truth on this registration. And then they have a sign here line and date today. And then at the bottom it says, if you sign this card and know it to be false, you can be fined up to $125,000 and or imprisoned for up to 5 years. So I have questions. Did any commissioners approve this to be mailed, or do you have to approve something like this to be mailed?
No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't have a role in that. This is Secretary of State.
Okay, so I would like to find out if the Secretary of State authorized this or asked that this be sent out. I would also like to know, will this signature be used to validate ballots during an election? This is sent in by people with no identification. So I could be living in an apartment. Sandy Jo moved out last month, and she gets this card at my address. All I have to do is sign Sandy Jo at the bottom, and that signature can be verified as being the same signature come November when a ballot comes to my house in Sandy Jo's name. I just sign Sandy Jo again, I forge her name, there you go. There is no ID required for this at all, and I'm very upset about this. I'd like to know how many were sent. How were the names for the mailing chosen? Because there are people, my son is deployed to Japan. He's been gone for 4 years. He's never voted in an election, even though he's registered here. He didn't get a card. So, because that was my first thought, is just that people haven't voted for a while. But I don't know how these people were chosen, what was the main purpose of mailing this card, and the time, cost, time involved by the clerk assistant to process these, the printing, and the time to stamp and mail, the costs that our county had to pay for these. I've been quite involved in election integrity, and I've done the verification, sitting there and watching the ballots and the signature verifications and stuff on election night. I'm from the state of Indiana, and we have very, very conservative values there. We do walk-in voting. One day, you go in, you show your ID, you go in and vote, and they're tallied that night. One day. And everything that I'm seeing in Oregon is fraught with fraud, and this just goes to prove that it starts at the county level.
If you write those questions down, because I couldn't get them all.
Oh, I have
Give
them.
those to me.
Yeah, I will.
Okay,
I can copy this and give to you, sure.
Yeah, very good. So I do have comments online from Jordan Blocker over in the clerk's office saying you should ask the elections office, and then from somebody, JD, I don't know who that is, Oregon does not require ID. You call the elections office if you have questions. And the lack of requirement for ID for voter registration is abominable. It's atrocious, it's horrible. And what's even more horrible is the charlatans that proclaim that any requirement for ID for voting is based in racism. What? That is asinine, foolish, and dumb. And as a matter of fact, if you haven't seen videos of black people being interviewed on the street about that question, it's pretty eye-opening, because this reporter goes and says, there's a claim that requirement of voter ID is somehow racist because black people can't get ID, or people of color can't get ID. Do you have an ID? And the person says, what are you talking about? Of course I got an ID, right? Everybody's got an ID. You've got to have an ID to buy alcohol. You've got to have an ID to drive. You've got to have an ID to fly on a plane. You've got to have an ID to do almost anything. Why wouldn't I have an ID? Well, they do. And the claim that this is some attempt at voter suppression is, in fact, the claim that's made from an assumption of racism, not the way that they're claiming. The left always attributes to the right the things that they're actually doing. That's what I've observed, and it absolutely incenses me. So anyway, I think that we do need voter ID in Oregon, and absolutely agree with that. So there you go. Any other citizen comments from anybody who did not sign up? We're at the end of the list there. Nothing else? Okay, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being online, and we're adjourned.